Vamos atrás. Cheio. Thank you so much, Ms. Hamisa class. What you just witnessed is a celebration of culture over time. The Bakasimba Nankasa Muogola dance is originally from the Ngamba culture, and it's been there for years and decades, kind of like what we're celebrating tonight.
25 years.
Absolutely.
Of shaking and twisting and dancing and celebrating.
Yeah.
With challenges. It's a bit of like a dance.
Exactly like a dance. You know what else it's like?
What is it?
It's like chimpanzees.
Tell me more about
There's a culture to them.
Absolutely.
They've got their own dance, their own communication style, their own way of communicating and speaking.
Their own character.
Absolutely. And tonight we're going to be celebrating that culture and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the Samusa class.
Thank you. And we will start right away today. I kindly request you all to stand up for the national anthems of Uganda and the East African community. Thank you. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again we'd like to welcome you to this celebration of 25 years. But first, for you to meet the people that are going to be your hosts this evening, my name is Florence Kitui.
And I'm Peter Appel.
But you're more than just Peter Appel here. There's another story beyond that.
The history of Ngamba and what we celebrate
is
also part of my history. And I've worked with chimps for a very long time, like many people in this room, and we're going to listen to stories about many of them.
So technically, by celebrating the story of Ngamba, we're celebrating you as well.
But I'm no longer 25.
I don't know, I couldn't tell. Maybe you look a little 25.
Yeah.
So there's a story about you particularly that you talked to me about a little bit earlier, and I said everybody needs to know. And it's about how a chimp saved your life.
It's not so much about that, it's about Connie. I invite all the guests that are here today. Ngamba Island has got this beautiful website with a lot of information about its history, its achievements, its tremendous landmarks, and they've got a section where the chimp profiles. It's ngambaisland.org. You should look at it. Connie is my favorite, and I downloaded this. I'm literally going to read it because I spend my time trying to read about Connie.
I think let me clarify before anyone gets confused. Connie is a chimp. Don't start looking around and asking on the table now who is Connie. No. Connie is a chimp.
This is what her profile says on Ngamba Island.
Yes.
Estimated date of birth, 1998. My name is Connie. I arrived at Ngamba Island in 1998 after I was confiscated at an army roadblock in southern Uganda. I am very affectionate and protective of the young chimps, and I have earned the nickname, the loving mother. As I often serve as a surrogate mother, I'm especially fond of Sarah, and we spend a lot of time together. For me, the catchy part is that she's very protective. She literally saved my life when a number of chimps were trying to attack me, and she fought them off. And I actually thought she was going to attack me. And it's amazing to see the challenge that many of the people sitting here today who have served, and Dr. Jane herself, who is our chief guest today, would have many stories about chimpanzees.
Speaking of people who have served and have many stories to tell, there are people who have stories just as compelling as yours. And we'd like to invite some of them here to tell us about those very huge milestones and what they're celebrating tonight. To start this evening, allow us welcome Dr. Joshua Rukundo, the ED of Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary. A round of applause.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. That is not quite what I expected. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Or should I greet you the chimp way? Thank you so much for coming. You all look very beautiful, very lovely today, and we do not take it for granted that you took the time to spend the evening with us to celebrate 25 years of Ngamba Island. I'll ask my colleagues, my family from Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Trust to join me briefly here and to lead me in greeting you the Chimpanzee way. Chimpanzee Trust staff, past staff, if you know you're part of the Ngamba family, please come and join me here for just a minute. Guys, don't be shy, please. Come on up, come on up, come on up. Yes, Dr. Lawrence, so good to see you. Stanley, Jovan. I thought Lily was not joining us. Okay, she's there with us. Okay, this is just a fraction of the Ngamba family. And they have been part of the last 20 years that we're celebrating here today. And if you know how to panthood, normally panthood is a greeting among us chimpanzees. One starts, leads a few notes, and the others join in to respond in the panthood, and we all expect you to join in. So Innocent, could you start us off?
Stand.
Thank you very much, guys. So with me here is really one of the things that is going to start me off on my speech today. Yeah. Ngamba Island today celebrates 25 years of existence. 25 years ago in 1998, Ngamba Island started off as a sanctuary for orphaned and rescued chimpanzees. And its biggest success has been because of this. Give them a round of applause. And many others that have not been able to come and join us here today. There are those, of course, who continue to care for the chimps at the sanctuary. But I'm happy that most of us are here. Michelle, so glad to see you. Where's Kerry? Kerry is not part of us. Kerry, why are you over there? Okay. Thank you very much. You can take your seats. Another round of applause. Okay, the entire week we've been celebrating 25 years, and we started this campaign back in January and had a number of events which are not ending with today. Today is only the main celebration, the gala dinner, but we'll be having celebrations all year round. We started off with a tree planting campaign in Hoima. We did live streaming of interactions with children across the world in partnership with the JGIs, especially JGI Austria and JGI Netherlands and the JGI Switzerland. And this week we were honored to receive Dr. Jane Goodall. Dr. Jane Goodall was one of the founding members of Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary. She came. We were chatting with her earlier on when we picked her from the airport on Sunday. And all week long she's been telling us a story. She's been telling us this story over and over again, but every time you learn something new. Jen, of course, most of you know that she started her journey back in Tanzania, the Ngamba Stream forest, studying chimpanzees. And then she mentioned something that was the best time of her life. That is the time when she had the best years of her life. In the forest, listening, connecting with the wildlife, getting to understand the chimpanzees in particular. But at some point she felt, when she heard what was happening with chimpanzees elsewhere, she felt that she needed to do a lot more. And that is when she left, she made a sacrifice to leave what was making her feel most comfortable, happiest in her life, to try and do a lot more, to inspire hope in other people, to spread awareness about the plight of the chimpanzee. And she came to Uganda for the first time in 1985. At that time, we were going through quite a tough time as a country. There was a lot of trafficking of chimpanzees, and that is where the discussion started. I'll leave Peter to tell that story. It is one of his favorite stories about the famous 4. I even thought you'd have told it already by now. There were 4 chimpanzees that got trafficked from Uganda, went to USSR. At that time, it was still called the USSR. They were repatriated back, and then they were again smuggled out of the country into Turkey. And that was just because a journalist made that a story, but that had been going on for so long. The illegal trafficking of wildlife, and specifically for chimpanzees, because there was a high demand for them. They are so similar to us, 98.7% DNA shared. And because of that, they have been exploited all their lives, mostly for the benefit of us. And that is why it is our responsibility to take care of them. Yeah. Like I already mentioned, these guys that have been here at the stage are really what has made the Chimpanzee Trust what it is today. I'll keep saying Chimpanzee Trust and Ngamba Island. Ngamba Island started out as a project of the Jane Goodall Institute Uganda. Jane Goodall Institute, like we've had before, was started, the Uganda chapter was started here in 1991. Yeah? And from then on, the groundwork started to get Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Project, at that time that's what it was called, to get started. And a number of you that are here were involved in that project. Professor Ephraim was one of the key people. Ambassador Mumtaz, the gold rings, have I seen them some? Oh yes. The few others, they got together with the Jane Goodall Institute and started looking for the resources to set up a sanctuary. And their vision came to pass in 1998 when we had the first 15 chimpanzees step foot on Ngamba Island. And that is when that is the moment that we're celebrating. The first 15 chimpanzees arrived on Ngamba Island. They had been kept in different situations. I think 11 of them were on a small island called Izinga, which was not ideal. And Ngamba was already something that had a forest, a pristine forest, with a small habitation of fishermen, and was available for sale. I'm really spoiling other people's stories, so I'll stop there. That is Sudhir's story. Mr. Sudhir was also involved in that, in getting the, in fundraising, in helping with fundraising to get the resources that purchased this island, and also getting the resources that set up the first facilities. Innocent. Where is Innocent? What is happening? I'm waiting for you. I'm buying time. I had a few pictures I wanted to share, but it looks like, as always, these things don't work when you want them to work, so I'll go ahead. So, like I was saying, I really picked out my lessons. I've been with the Chimpanzee Trust now for 14 years. I started out as a veterinarian. I'm still a veterinarian, as a sanctuary manager. I became the operations director, and I was mentored by Lily, who was the first Ugandan director. And I'm still trying to fill her shoes 5 years down the road. But I think I'm doing well. How do you say? Thank you, thank you. So one of the things that I learned from her and from my predecessors were just a few things that really make Ngamba what it is today. One is these guys that were here. I've worked in different places, I've interacted with a lot of different people, but people that work with animals are special. They're a special kind. I think anybody that has interacted with them will know. You have to really be a special kind to work with animals, to love animals, to be compassionate about them, to feel for them, to understand them, and to relate with them. And like Jen always tells us in her story, that her best teacher was her dog. What was the name again? Rusty. Yeah? Who taught her that animals do have a soul, that animals do have emotions. And for me, being a veterinarian, I'd always worked with animals. There was something extra special with the chimpanzees. I've worked with other wildlife. I'd worked with hyenas. I'd worked with antelopes. I'd worked with pets, dogs, cats. I love them to bits. But there was something special about the chimpanzees. Yeah? There was something extra special about them. And everybody has that story. if you've worked with chimpanzees or any animal, that there is that special story that really tweaks your heart or something that really connects with you emotionally. And for me, it may not be necessarily the favorite chimp, but that was my connection with a young chimpanzee called Naku. I had been working at Ngamba Island by then about 3 or 4 years as a veterinarian. And as the veterinarian at the sanctuary, the chimps do know who I am. So they know exactly what I do, and some of them don't like it. You're ready to go. Let me first finish this story. Naku is a young chimp. She's not so young quite now, but at that time she was quite young. And she's very low ranking. Like most species in the animal kingdom, we enjoy a kind of hierarchy, even amongst us humans. That is why there are people who sit at the high table and there are those who sit at the back. Isn't it? So, Naku is very low ranking. So she doesn't really interact with the keepers. She doesn't interact. She had never interacted ever at all with me, personally. And many times when such chimpanzees, even when we're doing health checks or anything, we always use the keepers that have a certain connection with them to get something to connect with them to get us what we need to get, either to deliver medicine or to get them to do something that we want or whatever it is that we might want to do. So this particular evening, Naku comes in, she hangs back. As always, she's a low-ranking chimp, hangs back in the raceway, and we're wondering why isn't she coming? You know, she normally wants to come in early, take her porridge before the big boys come in and they will disrupt it. And then she kept calling out to me, beckoning to me. They actually beckon, they know how to do. Yeah? And calling, oh, 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 oh. And I thought she was calling Stanley or one of the others. You know, those are the guys who are normally dealing with the chimps. But she fixed and locked her eyes with me. So I approached her. And then she reaches through the bars and gives me her arm. It was her left arm. And I noticed that the arm was swollen. And I got hold of her arm. I examined her arm. It was quite febrile. I noticed immediately that she had broken her arm. The forearm, both the radius and the ulnar, and she must have been in intense pain. As I examined her, I could see tears welling up in her eyes. But she trusted me. She knew exactly what it is that I was doing and that I could help her. Yeah? So she allowed me to manipulate the arm, and even right there, I attempted to set it. But that connection to know that I needed to get his attention, to get the help that I need, really did it for me. And that is really something that drew me very, very close to the chimpanzees at Ngamba Island. I treated her, she recovered, and we've been friends ever since. So for many of you that are here, you know a lot about Ngamba Island, you know a lot about chimpanzees, so I don't really want to bore you much about the chimpanzees. I was saying that we just have a few success stories, but I'll summarize what it is that we do for those that do not know. Innocent, if you're ready. Ngamba Island started out as a project of the JGI in 1998, and it was not until Lily came on board as executive director that now the Chimpanzee Sanctuary and Wildlife Conservation Trust, which in name was there, was first registered as an NGO, an independent NGO. And since then, we've grown. We continue to have the Chimpanzee Trust. Many of you get confused, what is Chimpanzee Trust, what is Ngamba Island? Chimpanzee Trust is the NGO, the non-government organization, that manages Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary, which is our main program of animal welfare, and we care for the chimpanzees at the sanctuary, of which now we started with 15, like I said. We now have 53 orphaned and rescued chimpanzees. If you have been born there, we have an education and awareness program. And like I said, because we are founded by JGI, creating awareness and educating the communities and the world about the plight of the chimpanzees, about what it is that they can do, what actions they can do to make changes in their lives is very pivotal to us. It is very, very similar to, actually it is a replica of the Roots and Shoots program, but because we don't want to step on our big brother's toes or our mother's toes, we simply call it our education program. But we do exactly the same thing. We go out to schools We talk to them about environment. We talk to them about their own situations at their homes. And we discuss and engage, and they let us know. And these young people are very, very intelligent. They come up with their own solutions. They recognize the problems that they have, and then they devise projects and programs to take action to make changes in their communities. And then we also have our final program, we call the conservation program, which is really about trying to protect the habitat of the chimpanzees. So those are our three main programs. As an NGO, we have a board of trustees that are led by institutions. We have our founders, Jane Goodall Institute, the Uganda Wildlife Authority, whose mandate it is for taking the responsibility of all wildlife in Uganda, and Uganda Wildlife Education Center. Those are literally the permanent trustees. They're never ever going away anywhere. We won't allow them. Then we also have the Eco Trust. Eco Trust came on board because at that time we were not being registered, and we had acquired land and it needed to be owned by somebody. And Eco Trust is an organization that holds land in trust for conservation. So it stepped in right there. Born Free Foundation, with there are a number of other trustees that were there in the beginning that are not there. At that time we had IFO, we had Wildlife Society, but over time there have been changes. The three that don't change are UWA, UWEC, and JGI. Now we have, those are the board of trustees. Then we have a board, and we have 9 members, one from each of the trustees, and 2 others that the board incorporates to make them 9. And one thing that is unique about these board members is that they're all volunteers. I think I always tell my other people that for me, I'm fortunate to have such strong institutions that individuals are usually used to being paid, to be in boards elsewhere, but they volunteer their time and they have remained committed and passionate. I don't call for a board meeting and they don't show up. They do. They don't give lip service. They actually contribute, and they have contributed a lot to making the Chimpanzee Trust what it is today and bringing Ngamba Island to the heights that it is right now. Locally recognized and internationally recognized as well. Then there's us that do the work, led by currently myself, the executive director. We're not a very big team. We're only 38, but you will feel our impact, and I'm sure you have. Yeah. So, like I said, we have our programs, animal welfare, and I was thinking about this because I was thinking about what it means to be a person that works with chimpanzees. We do rescue, we do rehabilitation, we do education, and some of these are the chimpanzees that ended up coming to Ngamba Island. And some of the programs that we do for rehabilitation, like painting, again, Jen has a story on that. And then those are the caregivers that look after them. And this is what it looks like. We have part of the sanctuary fenced off as a forest, which we maintain in its pristine conditions, where the chimpanzees are able to express themselves in an environment that is as close to what they would experience in the wild. With, of course, veterinary care, and that is where I started out from. And that program also helps us to train a lot of veterinarians. All those around me are students. One of them is here, Nelson. And they have benefited quite a lot from this program, where they can get to understand animal health and care. Then this is our other program we're talking about. So, Innocent, we can just go through this quickly. Like I said, we do tree planting, we do community, we do programs to fight poaching, traffic, bushmeat trade. We do human-wildlife conflict mitigation. We do interventions where chimpanzees get injured or trapped. And that is also part of what we do in human-wildlife conflict mitigation. There are a number of programs in that. We also have our education program, like I already talked about, so we can go quickly through these as well. Like I said, we do community outreach, school outreach, and we do radio drama. I'm really proud about this program, and it was started by one of my colleagues, Silva, under the leadership of Lily. It has really been a huge success, and we're currently into season. This program, I want to spend a few seconds on it, was initially started as a drama program where we went out to a school and we asked them what it is that you can do, and they decided to come up with a play. Which play was so great, so fantastic, we made a competition out of it with the other schools. And they emerged winners. And because the play was so good, we thought that we needed to share this information because it was speaking about the real life situations that these children were talking about. So we got a little funding and did a radio drama, and my colleagues are there responding to questions from the audience after an episode. Because we saw it was so impactful, it was reaching to so many people and getting a lot of response, we again now evolved it into a second season, a third season. And we've continued to attract funding for this because of the impact that it has had in the communities. Next. So Ngamba Island, can you imagine that was Ngamba Island? Can anyone guess the year? This was way, way, way before anyone thought that it would be a sanctuary. It's not that big, as you can see. And this was in the 1950s. And there you see the first chimpanzees that were being brought to the sanctuary with our first director. And our patron, Janet Kataha, who launched it in 1999. That was the time the National Geographic and BBC came to shoot some program on our first holding facility and helped us to raise funds to the second one. And now look at what it looks like. Ain't it beautiful? Wouldn't you like to come and visit? Aha. So this is the team I was talking about. Now, working at Ngamba Island, you have to have many skills. You have to be a nutritionist. You have to be a nursemaid to be able to take care of orphaned or rescued chimpanzees, because some of these come in when they are very, very young, they're infants, and they need that physical touch. You need to be a teacher of both young people and old people. You need to be a carpenter, you need to be a welder, you need to be a plumber, you need to be a diver, you need to be and all these are part of what it means to work on Ngamba Island. It is not simply feeding the chimps. So that is why I'm so proud about these guys, because they are multi-talented. I was wondering, should I really share this? Because in the recent past, some of my guys are being stolen away from me, yeah? By people who are offering them a lot more than I can. But for me, I always think it is okay, because everybody that has left the Chimpanzee Trust has only gone on to do something bigger and better, but with the same goal of conservation. Another thing that has made us really successful, I'm about to end, don't get bored, is our partners. Innocent, just go through them. I can't read all of them, and they're not all there. From the ministry, UA, UEC, UHCTI, many of our staff come from there. Uganda Wildlife Research Center, many of them also come from there. Continue. The Ministry of Water and Environment. Now I'm still talking about government agencies. The NFA, NEMA, the Jane Goodall Institute. Now this one is a big global thing, so there are very many, but these are our main sponsors. Austria, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, Uganda, and USA. And they really contribute almost 40% of our budget. IFO was the founding board, part of our board of trustees in the beginning. Born Free Foundation, part of the founding board and still current board member. The African Wildlife Foundation. WCS, who are even partnering with us this week. EcoTrust, part of the board. The Wildlife Clubs of Uganda, whom we work with to reach out to schools. The Friends of Chimps, this is a foundation that was specifically set up to support Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary in the US. These are coffee guys. They keep supporting us. The Ruparelia Foundation. I wanted to say a little bit about that, but Mr. Sudil seems to have walked away, but he'll come back and tell the story. He has really supported us from the word go up to now. The Tiantang Group, and they have also a foundation under there. Taba really stepped in for us at a time when we were going through a big crisis in 2020, when we had flooding and we had the lockdown of COVID. They provided for us food for one entire year, a full year. And since then, they have continued to support us. Total Energies, they have given us support. Many times, whenever I speak about Total Energies, it sounds a bit controversial, but you'll be happy to know that even at the onset, from the beginning, one of the people that contributed, or the companies that contributed to setting up Ngamba Island was Total. At that time it was not called Total Energy, it was simply Total. And they have been with us on this journey since then. The Mandela Group, and the many others. I think there are many others, I couldn't finish all of them. So to close it off, this is the last reason why we have been successful, the Chimps themselves. Aren't they gorgeous? They give us a reason to keep doing what it is that we are doing every single day. As we see them emerge from the trauma that they have gone through when they get to us, to what they turn out to be right now. It gives us hope that we can even do more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me. As I go away, there's going to be a small video
just showing
to show you a little bit more of things that I couldn't put into words. Yeah. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. Joshua Rukundo. Thank you. Your story was better than mine. I have to find another one. Can we get a short video before we dive in?
We are not the only beings with personalities, minds and emotions. What I've learned from the chimpanzees is not only the ways we're similar to them, but the ways that we're different. So here we are, this most intellectual species to ever walk the planet, and yet we're destroying our only home. Is it because there's a disconnect between this clever brain and the human heart, which is love and compassion? What do you think?
It's dangerous being a chimpanzee. But let me tell you a story. A bittersweet story. Several years ago, in the heart of the Democratic Republic of Congo, war raged on. In the crucible of conflict, human lives were lost, but also the innocent souls of the precious wildlife in this Africa's most treasured forest. Among the lives lost was a chimpanzee mother who left behind her only precious daughter, Ikuru. Remembers the fateful night as her mother lay lifeless on the forest floor. She recalls hearing her mother's panthood, louder and louder, followed by whimpering sounds, and slowly, her whimpers turned into silence. Ikuru looked at her mother's belly, and there was a lot of blood. She tried to touch her eyes and lips, but she couldn't move. As she helplessly clung to her body, her mother unfortunately bled to death. It's a day she had never been prepared for. A few hours later, as Ikuru sobbed for her loss, a soldier found her. He tried to pull her away, but she tightened her grip. She just couldn't leave her mother's side. She only fled the scene when the place caught fire and her delicate skin began to burn. She She had to run away in fear of losing her life to the merciless flames that burnt her mother's body. The soldier would then find her and bring her to Uganda, where he would try to raise her as a house pet in the northwestern district of Arua. Ikuru was only saved by government officials from the Uganda Wildlife Authority, who flew her to the then Uganda Wildlife Education Center, the renowned Entebbe Zoo, and she would later on be transferred to a special island sanctuary called Ngamba. Now let's flip the pages and peek into the famous Kivale forest. In here is an oasis of hope for chimpanzees, where their resilience and intelligence shine. This ancient tropical rainforest is a haven of man's closest relative. But like many chimpanzee habitats, it's not without challenge. The harmony we see among this chimpanzee community is threatened by the discordant threats of human encroachment. Over 80% of the worldwide forest habitat has been lost in the last 25 years, and their global population has halved in just the last 63 years. It's a kind of drastic impact that only the human race can have in such a short time in the history of our planet. Fortunately, it's also a problem that the same human race can reverse in the shortest time possible. But it's got to be deliberate.
15 years ago, I made my journey to Ngamba Island as a new member of staff. I did not really know what to expect. I was only a young lad full of energy, hoping to start a career in conservation and also earn a salary to support my own family back home in Western Uganda. When I first set foot on this island, I felt this unexplainable connection. I was really captivated by chimpanzees who had found a home and were getting a second chance at life. Now, they are my family and I am theirs.
The credits sped by really fast, but as we clap for this video, that we hope to celebrate is the fact that this video was made entirely by the staff of Ngamba Island. Another one of their many skills. And it's a video that tells such a compelling story. Absolutely compelling.
It does, absolutely it does. We're going into a continuation of our program today. I would like to recognize that our guests, our main guests have arrived. Dr. Jane Goodall, the State Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities is also here. The Permanent Secretary of the same ministry is here. The Board Chair of Ngamba Island is here. Director of Jane Goodall and Director of WCS and other conservation organizations. I also see the Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador of the EU, Ambassador of Austrian Ambassador is here and several other ambassadors. I see the business community. You're all welcome. We'll be going through the list as we move along.
Absolutely. Now, one of the stories that was very compelling was one he told about chimpanzees that got captured and then released and then captured again.
That's actually where Ngamba began from. And did you know we have 4 chimps on Ngamba Island that can skate? Ice skating.
Ice skating.
Ice skating. Well, it's a bit of a sad story, but this is where the seed of Island was planted in 1989. 4 chimps, Jim, Masiko, Megan, and Sunday, were the ones that triggered the establishment of the sanctuary. They were at Uwek Zoo enjoying their lives. And then one October night, they were quietly smuggled out of Ngamba, out of Uwexu, and they disappeared. This was around 1989. And they looked for these chimps for many years, and they couldn't find them. But in 1991, in Rome, Traffic, an agency that deals with illegal traffic of wildlife across the world, was tracking a gibbon in Rome. And this gibbon led them to another gibbon. And together with that gibbon, they found 4 chimpanzees. These were the chimps that had disappeared from Uwexu. They were brought to Rome by a Russian circus, and they were ice skating. So Traffic confiscated them and tried to bring this international dealer to book. But it was very elusive. Somehow he slipped away, and they chased him through Italy, Austria, and Hungary, eventually getting him in Turkey, where they rescued these chimps and brought them back to Uganda. These chimps were then reunited with a group of other chimps on an island called Isunga in Queen Elizabeth National Park, and then that's where the spark came. The Jane Goodall Institute, together with the Conservation Breeding Specialist Group of the IUCN, conducted a workshop here, a population and habitat viability assessment workshop. I'm sure Honorable Kamuntu, who was instrumental in that, and Jane herself, who called and pushed for this, and pushed through that agenda.
And happier still is the fact that 3 out of 4 of those chimps still live today. You can actually see them. But what's shocking is chimps ice skating, and I can't even skate on cement. Are you trying to say that the chimps are better than me, eh?
Oh, sorry.
Did you say absolutely?
Against me. But we'll have many stories like this, and it just goes to show the plight of chimpanzees. It goes to show the pain and the effort. I really want to commend the effort that so many organizations, the government of Uganda, Uganda Wildlife Education Center, Traffic, Conservation Breeding Specialist Group, the Jane Goodall Institute, several other partners, all that effort collectively can get just 4 back. Shows that every individual matters, like Dr. Jane Goodall always says, and bring back.
Now, as we prepare to welcome another very important member of this particular effort that he's talking about, allow me to give you some of the house notes just to get you in a more comfortable place where you are. If you need to use the powder room, just go outside slowly down the stairs, and just below where we're sitting right now, you can actually find areas of convenience there. In case of any emergencies, maybe you want to rush and go and see a chimpanzee, please walk slowly. I won't say fire because we won't have that. Walk slowly and calmly out into the first open area that you see, so that we can be safe.
Thank you. And then we move now to our next important guest, who will be giving us briefings, and that is the chair of the board of the Chimpanzee Trust. Please help me welcome Dr. James Musinguzi. He's also the executive director of the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. Just a few remarks.
I would like to invite fellow board members to come and join me as we take this opportunity to speak about the work we do. Please join me on stage. Please join me here on stage. Okay. Thank you. The Honorable Minister of State for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Honorable Martin Mugara, our dear Permanent Secretary, Doreen Katsime, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, conservationists, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. James Musinguzi. I'm the Executive Director of the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center, but also the board chair of the Chimpanzee Trust. We are proud to be here, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you, the board members who offer policy guidance and direction. I beg that you introduce yourself individually for people to know you, because you're doing a great job. Yes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Alice Masharia, and I'm the Vice President of Africa Programs with the Jane Goodall Institute USA office.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Goreti Masade. I'm currently the CEO of the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services, but I was previously working at the zoo as a business manager at the UEC.
Good evening, everyone. Lilia Jorova is my name. I worked at Ngamba for 14 years, and I'm so glad to still be serving on the board of Ngamba.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Stumpy. I am the president of the Pan-African Sanctuary Alliance and co-founder of Children of Conservation, which is also a partner for Ngamba.
Good evening to all of you. My name is Byamukama James. I'm the executive director at Jane Goodall Institute, Uganda.
Thank you very much. I would like to recognize our special guest, Dr. Jane Goodall. You are welcome to Uganda. And thank you so much for the great support that you give through the Jane Goodall Institute all over the world to this sanctuary. We are very proud of that. Ladies and gentlemen, the team you see here joins hands together to lead the policy formulation and direction of the Chimpanzee Sanctuary. We are very proud of the staff that we lead, because as you see, our work is purely about passion, and the staff have demonstrated passion to get the results that you have seen. We need to clap them, ladies and gentlemen. As the board, we've been working very hard to make sure that Ngamba remains a going concern, with special emphasis on the welfare of the animals that are in our care. The other programs that we do, including the outreach programs and institute conservation, complement the main work we do with the animal welfare. We would like to thank everybody, but Sam, you'd be here. Mr. Sam Mwanda, you are a board member. Sir, please come here. Join us. Mr. Sam Mwanda, please. The Executive Director of the Uganda Wildlife Authority. Welcome him. Yes. Please, sir, introduce yourself.
I do not directly sit on the board, but my colleague John Makombo, who unfortunately is in the field, sits on behalf of the Uganda Wildlife Authority. That's why I was thank you. So, on behalf of the board, I would like to pledge that we are going to continue doing this, because we love it, we love what we do. We are going to continue supporting and giving policy direction to the island, and of course for the next so many years. Thank you for coming for congratulating us for 5 years and all the series of activities that we've gone through so far. We welcome you and wish you great time as you celebrate with us, as we look forward to the future, looking after the welfare of the chimpanzees in our care, as well as the other programs that we do. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.
were you at 25?
At 25, I've been at university as well. I'm an ecologist, and that's what I studied.
You mean you're over 25?
I am.
You're the Where did you hope to be? How old are you now? Is it something you're comfortable sharing?
Of course, I'm 44.
Did you ever imagine where you'd be at 44?
Not that I'm going to be here in this room with so many exciting people.
Ah, wonderful.
Great, thank you.
She won
Thank
the
you.
lottery on that one.
Yeah, she did, absolutely. So we would like to welcome our next speaker, who is
Good evening. I thought, having come late and yet I was to welcome you, I would be skipped off the program because we have gone a long way. But I would just say very few words. Honorable ministers, I'm recognizing Professor Kamuntu, who is my minister, Honorable Bahinduka. I don't know if we have any members of parliament here. Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps, we welcome you and we thank you for being here. Our development partners, board members and executive directors of Ngamba but other affiliated institutions, distinguished members of the private sector, members of the academia, representatives of NGOs, representatives of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today we gather, or tonight, we gather on this joyous occasion to commemorate a milestone that speaks to the spirit of endurance and compassion as we celebrate the silver jubilee of Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary, a symbol of commitment to fostering partnerships for coexistence with our precious companions who are the chimpanzees. Several times our president says they're our cousins, and he wonders how some people can mistreat their cousins and relatives. So 25 years ago, Ngamba Island embarked on a remarkable journey, opening its doors to 15 orphaned and rescued chimpanzees. Today, with a heart filled with pride, I'm glad to announce that Ngamba Island is home to 53 thriving chimpanzees. Thank you. A testament to what can be achieved when collaboration, dedication, and purpose align. As a ministry, we are committed to the conservation of chimpanzees and their habitats, whose success depends on cooperation beyond borders and individual efforts. This resonates well with the theme of the event, which is Partnership for Coexistence. The ministry has partnered with local communities, NGOs, and international stakeholders to create a holistic approach to chimpanzee conservation. Through innovative programs, we have worked tirelessly to ensure the protection of these endangered species. And our efforts include several activities, but among others, designation and maintenance of protected areas, combating illegal trade in chimpanzees and their parts, community-based conservation initiatives, supporting scientific research to better understand chimpanzee behavior, their health and ecology, raising awareness and building a generation of informed conservation advocates. The ministry has supported the development of infrastructure at the sanctuary. For instance, in 2017, as a one-off grant, we extended the construction of the current electric fence for the protection of the chimpanzees at the sanctuary. And I believe this has gone a way in creating a safe haven for the chimpanzees. And in order to strengthen the existing collaboration and strategic interventions and future commitments, we are currently developing a memorandum of understanding with the Chimpanzee Trust, which I believe will be signed very soon. It is known that tourism is the leading or among the leading foreign exchange earners, and therefore any revenues realized from the sanctuary contributes to the stock of our GDP. However, a sustainable future for both wildlife and communities hinges on responsible and ethical tourism. So we don't want just to promote tourism for the sake of generating more money, like our chief guest was saying yesterday. It's not about not just about the chimpanzees bringing in money, but it's also about their lives as beings. It is heartening to note that our efforts to promote Ngamba Island as a beacon of responsible tourism have
Permanent Secretary, members of the Diplomatic Corps, heads of agencies that are here with us, WEC, UTB, UA, board members and executive directors of affiliated institutions, representatives of NGOs, representatives of the media, all of you invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, in a special way, our special guest, Dr. Jane Goodall, and all the members from the various institutes across the globe. It is an honor for me to be here at this gala dinner where we gather to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the existence of the Chimpanzee Trust, which is famously known as the Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary. I wish to welcome you all to this gala dinner. Today marks a momentous occasion when we celebrate the remarkable achievements of dedicated efforts in wildlife conservation with outstanding successes achieved in safeguarding our precious wildlife and natural resources. Since 1986, the government of Uganda, under the visionary leadership of His Excellency the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and with unwavering commitment through meticulous, planned, robust policies and focused action, we have witnessed a resurgence in the population of various species, including chimpanzees. Through focused conservation policy, legal and institutional framework established by the goodwill of government, we have witnessed the participation of several different stakeholders, including civil society, private sector, communities, partnerships in the conservation of wildlife and natural resources, generally leading to a revamp in the tourism industry. Whereas pockets of illegal activities such as poaching, habitat destruction, and the illegal pet trade still persist, government has put in place robust mechanisms, including the establishment of the National Wildlife Crime Coordination Task Force, strengthened customer control checkpoints, enhanced interagency collaborations, better equipment, robust surveillance, and intelligence, among others, which has yielded tangible results over the last 25 years. There has been a drastic reduction in these illegal activities. For instance, reported incidents of illegal trade involving chimpanzees have reduced from 76 cases in 2001 to mere 7 cases in the past year, which I think is a tremendous achievement. This represents a phenomenal reduction. This represents a phenomenal reduction of 91% in illegal pet trade cases. Since 1998, government has designated under 1.2 million hectares of land as protected areas, providing essential habitat for countless species and bolstering our conservation efforts. Establishment of community-based conservation programs have positively impacted both wildlife and people. Through these programs, we have seen a 50% reduction in human-wildlife conflict incidences, fostering a more harmonious existence between the communities and the wildlife. Commitment to wildlife conservation, in addition to protecting our natural heritage, has contributed significantly to our economy. Tourism revenue generated from the wildlife-related activities has experienced a steady growth of 8%, at least 8% annually over the last 2 decades, providing economic opportunities for our people and supporting sustainable development. The numbers are not statistics. They signify the power of collaboration and the potential of tourism to drive positive change. The statistics are efforts of dedicated individual communities and organizations that have shared in our vision for thriving biodiverse Uganda. As we celebrate the 25th anniversary of Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary, let us reaffirm our commitment to continued conservation, sustainable development, and the protection of our invaluable natural resources. The Ministry of Tourism is committed to fostering partnerships that transcend boundaries, cultures, and backgrounds, embracing the shared vision of existence and harmony with the natural world. As I conclude, may I remind ourselves that as we celebrate 20 years of existence of Ngamba Island and the remarkable strides gained in conserving our chimpanzee populations and curbing illegal wildlife activities, this is a collective effort. It is a celebration of the dedication of every individual, every community, and every partner who has contributed to this noble cause. Together we have shown the world the power of unity in safeguarding natural heritage. And I am confident that we will continue to create a legacy of excellence in safeguarding our environment for generations to come. And of course, in a special way, just to add my voice to the others that have spoken before me, to thank all the various partners. I think when Rukundo displayed the list, quite a number. I want to thank you for your efforts in supporting government to see that we achieve conservation of wildlife. But in a special way, to thank Dr. Jane and the GGI institution for being part of this journey for the last 25 years. We wouldn't have this celebration if it weren't for you. And to thank the entire team that came before us, that has been part of this journey and made it a success to date. And of course, congratulate the current leadership. I noticed one thing when the team came, and I was asking Dr. Jen, because there were quite a number, and I'm sure not all of them were present. And when you look at the video of the young man who they showed us going to the island, he said he had, of course, gone to do conservation, but also to support his family back home. So this is beyond conservation. This is taking care of the other Ugandans that participate in the conservation. So you can imagine how many lives that have been impacted for the last 25 years and will still be impacted for the next I don't know how many years because of the effort and sacrifice that you put into this. So we don't take this lightly. We thank you as government, and we hope the wonderful work that you started continues. I think let's give her a special... When we had the dinner with the Mama Janet, the first lady, she said she has a few months to reach 90. I've been following the activities. The Honorable Minister is not here with us today, but he was with you yesterday. That she has done the few days she has been here, and those that she's yet to do before she departs is really a sign of commitment. My prayer is that we don't let this, we won't let you down, even as you go confident knowing that this island will grow. You've seen a wonderful team, and as government we'll even commit more support to this very noble cause. With those few remarks, I wish you a wonderful evening, and I wish Ngamba another 125 years. Thank you so much.
The Honorable State Minister for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Honorable Martin Mugara. Thank you so much. A round of applause.
Thank you.
Honorable, please do stay behind to help us award the people who've been a part of this journey as we celebrate innovation and sustainability in chimpanzee conservation. Join me in welcoming Jane and Paul Goldring of GNC Tours. This award that is being given to Jane and Paul Goldring is in recognition of the impact their actions and activities that have had on the welfare of the chimpanzees at Ngamba Island, on the sustainability of the sanctuary, respectively. This award recognizes the initiatives that have contributed to Ngamba's growth and sustainability over the past 25 years, improving welfare and pioneering sustainable tourism at Ngamba. Joining us right after them to receive the Conservation Champion Award are two individuals that we'd like to celebrate tonight. Lilia Darova and George Oyesi. These individuals have shown commitment. Thank you so much to the Goldrings.
Thank you very much indeed to Ngamba Island too. It's been a wonderful journey. All the best.
This award is Lilia Darova and George Oyesigire, and these individuals have shown commitment over the years from their early careers to date to wildlife conservation and in particular of chimpanzees in Uganda.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad and happy, excited to associate myself with a successful journey, but with a sad and historical perspective. When we participate in the rescue of some of these chimpanzees, you also feel that they are very traumatized, but also they are attached to us. They are our closest relatives indeed. And if you allow me a second, two chimpanzees that I participated in their rescue, one around Bulindi on the Masindi side, where they had been, a young chimpanzee had been kept in a kitchen for close to 2 months after had been killed in a sugarcane plantation. And we worked with the Jane Goodall Institute volunteers to rescue this chimpanzee, and that individual, or the young one, was to the island, and I'm glad it still exists at the island. The second chimpanzee, I worked closely with my brother and Ndugu, Dr. Peter Appel. Dr. Peter Appel, this was an exciting one. We got to know that there was an individual keeping a young chimpanzee south of Bugoma Central Forest Reserve, near Changwari refugee settlement. So we sang into action, got the support of Uganda Wildlife Authority. We picked some rangers from Masindi. We got some police officers from Hoima, and we proceeded to Changwari, moved through the villages until we reached this very site. And what do we discover there? We found this individual, who is, I will not mention the name, to be a reverend father, is keeping 2 monkeys, 1 young chimpanzee, the infant, and a baboon. And we had 1 Land Cruiser, that was in 2008, I think, and we couldn't confiscate the baboon and put them in this very vehicle, they would fight there. So what we decided, with the guidance from my colleague Dr. Per, who is an expert in wildlife handling, he said, let's first rescue the endangered chimpanzee, then we'll come for.
And one day, old man turned and groomed him. The females kept away, but they didn't do anything. Until one day, how did it work now? Anyway, something happened, and the females started to attack, all three of them. Because, oh yes, that's right, one female had a baby, Mark slipped on muddy ground and frightened the 2-year-old baby that old man loved. Obviously, he was the father. And the baby screamed, and so the three females turned on Mark and began attacking badly. And then Mark looked up, he was still lying on the ground. Now he sees old man thundering across the ground with his hair erect and looking furious, and he thought, well, I'm going to die. But what happened? Old man pulled away these three females and kept them off, screaming and angry, while Mark dragged himself, badly wounded, to the boat and safety. And he was a long time in hospital. I met him there. And the other one is the other way around. This was a main pet. He had no experience of other chimpanzees. And there was this zoo with a moat around it, and they put him, just put him this island with the other males, and he was terrified when the other males displayed. He cowered away, and on this occasion he was so frightened that he managed to get over the safety railing that was built to stop the chimps drowning in the deep water beyond. And they can't swim. So this chimpanzee, he was also called Jojo, not the same Jojo, and he sank. He came up gasping for breath. He sank again, once more came up, and then that time he disappeared. There was a keeper on the other side of the moat. He just watched. But there was a man there with his wife and two little girls, and he jumped in. He jumped in, he got hold of Jojo, he dragged him to the safety of the shore, actually getting him over that safety barrier, the railing that was built. And Jojo was unconscious, but he was alive, and a little bit of water came out of his mouth, and Rick turned to go away. Everybody was screaming at him. The other males were coming down looking fierce with their hair standing on end. And Rick thought, well, they look as if they're going to attack me. But Jojo was sliding back down into the water. And there was a moment when Rick looked at his family, looked at those three males coming down, looked at Jojo, was just about to disappear under the water. And he went back and he pushed Jojo back up the bank until Jojo managed to grab a tuft of grass and pull himself to safety. And afterwards he was interviewed, Rick was, and he said, well, when he came up for air the third time, he looked into my eyes, and I felt I was looking into the eyes of a person, and the message was, won't anybody help me? That, I think, is the look that we've seen in the eyes of these chimpanzees who so desperately need our help. And thank goodness there are people like you who respond to that look and reach out to help. And it's not just in sanctuaries and zoos that we see behavior like this. There was a female, an old female, she died, leaving an infant who was just old enough to support himself without his mother's milk, although had she lived he would still be suckling occasionally. He was just 3 years old. He had no brother or sister who would have adopted him. But to our amazement, a 12-year-old adolescent male adopted little Mel. And Spindle carried him when the group traveled. He carried him underneath, gripping on underneath if it was raining, cold, or the baby was frightened. He shared his food with him. He slept side by side with Mel in his nest. And most amazing of all, 12-year-old adolescent males in the wild keep out of the way when the big males are displaying, because they're very often the target of of an aggressive attack when the males are overexcited. And 3 or 4 times we actually saw Spindle attacked by the males when he ran in to rescue little Mel who was in the way. Because that's the mother's job. She must remove her infant. And a male, when he's doing this charging display, it's as though he sees red. He's not really knowing what he's doing, because normally they're protective of infants. But sometimes if an infant is in the way, the male will grab, drag, and throw the infant. And Spindle took on the role of a mother and saved Mel's life. So there was one interesting story, and I've only got one more from Ngamba, and that was Gremlin, who's now our grand matriarch. She's 50 years old. She has a large family of young ones, some grown up. But this was when her mother was alive, and her baby brother was 2 years old, just beginning to totter after Mum on travels. And Gremlin was behind. So Mum, little one, Gremlin. And Mum went through a patch of tall grass. And just as the little one, whose name was that was his name, can't remember, Gimbal. So Gimbal was just about to follow Mum. And Gremlin rushed forward and grabbed him, and he screamed, and she moved him all around. And afterwards, we saw the mother who'd been through the grass sitting for about 10 minutes and picking ticks off herself. It was a newly hatched batch of ticks. So, I mean, that's an interesting thing. Gremlin put it all out. She saw the ticks, and she didn't want her baby brother to suffer the tick bites. So those little interesting stories in Ngamba, and I'm telling them just so that everybody understands the importance of saving these chimpanzees. So the sanctuaries that exist in Africa, in America, for rescued laboratories, rescued chimps from zoos and pets and circuses. There's a chimp sanctuary in Japan. There are various ones scattered around the world. So there are people who care. There are people who look towards the safety of the chimps in the wild, and then those which come into our care in captivity. And I'll end with one last story. It's in the wild again. The first chimpanzee I got to really know, the first chimpanzee to trust me, David Greybeard. And on this occasion, I was following him, and it was right at the beginning. He'd just begun to allow me to actually follow him. He was on his own, and he went through a tangle of vegetation, all thorns and vines. He went through easily, but me, you know, with my hair and my shoes and clothes, I got hopelessly tangled. And I thought, well, I've lost David, but never mind, I'll find him another time. When I actually worked my way through this tangle of vegetation, David was sitting, and he was looking back. It looked as though he was waiting for me. I don't know, maybe he was. So I sat down near him. And lying on the ground between us was a ripe red palm nut, which chimps love. So I picked it up and held it out towards him. And he turned his face away. So I rather rudely put my hand closer. And he turned, he looked directly into my eyes. He reached out and with one movement took the nut and dropped it. He didn't want it. But at the same time, he very gently squeezed my fingers, one way that chimpanzees reassure each other. So in that moment, we communicated perfectly in the kind of communication that probably predated human language. He understood that my motives were good. I understood that he knew and that he didn't want the nut for some reason. And I think it was that moment, early on in my research, I became committed to caring about chimpanzees for the rest of my life. So on this wonderful occasion, I hope everybody is going to have a wonderful evening. I would like to thank the people who entertained us at the beginning, and these two poor chimps who must be very hot in their furry coats, for being here and sitting here and listening to us. So thank everybody who had an award for all that you've done. thank everybody who's put the evening together, thank everybody who's arrived, whether you're ministers or diplomats or caretakers or whoever you are. Just remember you're a primate, and just remember that every day you live you make some impact. And I like to think when I go to bed that my impact has made the world just a teeny bit better. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Jen. I would ask that you wait a little bit and we just make a few words. A few words. We'll be giving our words.
Oh, you want me to stay here?
Yes, please. Invite the Executive Director of the Chimp Trust. We have two categories to give. We'll have the honor of receiving it from Dr. Jen Goodall. And the first one is the Outstanding Support Award in recognition of their consistent, outstanding and generous contributions to Ngamba Island, Chimpanzee Sanctuary, the individuals and institutions that have supported the sanctuary, especially through tough times. I would like to invite the following: Mr. Alain Gotts, David and Christina Moller, Friends of Chimpanzees USA, Friends of Chimps USA, the Born Free Foundation, the John Good Institute under this category, but we couldn't make John give to the John Good Institute. So we switched it.
Okay, many of these are very good supporters and they're not here, but we'd like to request some people to receive them on their behalf. I'll ask Lily to receive the award for Mr. Gotzi, and I'll ask Michelle to come over and receive the award for David and Christina Nola.
As we await all awardees prepare.
scene. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now we'll just have a quick video. Just give us a moment. Yeah. As we're preparing the video, this is in recognition of a great partner and supporter of Chimp Trust, and that's Volcano Safaris. That does a lot of voluntary work and support. So we'll get a bit of volume on this. Thank you.
For Carrie Stumpy, chimpanzee conservation is more than just caring for animals. It's a holistic approach, recognizing the hard work and the value of Africa's animal caretakers. In 2009, Stumpy co-founded Children of Conservation, an NGO that protects and supports African wildlife conservation by helping the people who help the animals. Children of Conservation's main mission is to provide educational funding for the children of wildlife sanctuary workers. It currently sponsors over 400 kids every year throughout Africa. These programs have impacted thousands of individuals since their inception. Some chimpanzee sanctuaries, like Chimpanzee in Zambia, don't have accessible schools anywhere nearby. In 2017, Stumpy answered this need. He partnered with the Zambian government and led a construction team to build a middle school at Chimpanzee. The school continues to grow and thrive today. It's been so successful that they're currently building a high school in the same area so the kids at Chimpanzee can continue their education. These schools also provide a school lunch for over 200 kids every day. Stumpy's approach doesn't stop with education. He and Children of Conservation have always been a resource for chimpanzee sanctuaries in need. Whether it's bringing a medical team to assist with employee health checks, specialists that care for the animals, or hand-washing stations to neighboring communities, Stumpy and his teams from Children of Conservation are always ready to assist. One recent project was the implementation of Ngamba Island's